casual poll. We've moved the time back from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock for a start for this program. How did that work for everyone? Is 7 o'clock a good time? Yeah, yes. Thumbs up? Yes. All right, great. So we'll see you next month at 7 o'clock. Thanks for being here. I'm Lily Siegel, Executive Director and Curator here at Grace, for those of you who don't know me. And we are very, very pleased to be presenting our first creative response for the Paulina Peavy exhibition. I am not going to say much else other than introduce Sarah Sadler, our exhibition and gallery manager, who has done a terrific job of finding really interesting, great people around town to introduce to our space and present to all of you. So, Sarah, thank you. Thank
you all for being so patient and enjoying some wine and snacks while we figured out our technical situation. We're so glad that you're all here with us. So I'm going to introduce Zoe. Zoe is very accomplished, and I can't remember everything, so I'm going to read if you'll forgive me. Zoë Charlton received her MFA degree from the University of Texas at Austin. Her work has been included in national and international exhibitions, including the Harvey B. Gantt Center in Charlotte, North Carolina, Crystal Bridges Museum of American Art in Bentonville, Arkansas, Studio Museum of Harlan in New York City, Contemporary Art Museum, Houston, Texas, the Zakata National Gallery of Art in Warsaw, Poland, and the Haas and Fischer Gallery in Zurich, Switzerland. She is a past recipient of a Pollock Krasner Grant and the Rubies Grant. She attended residencies at the McCall Center of Art and Innovation, the Skowhegan School of Painting and Sculpture, and the Patterson Residency at Creative Alliance. Charlton is an associate professor and chair of the Department of Art at American University in Washington, D.C. I am so thankful.
Let's just see if I can operate two laptops. So hold your applause for a little bit. We're going to try this. So thanks for being patient. I'm glad that 7 o'clock works for you because, as you can see, we're starting at 7:30. So we have the polite buffer of 30 minutes, right? So thank you so much. Thank you very much, Sarah, for introducing me, and Lily, it's a joy to be able to work with you in this capacity. I met Lily a few years ago at a series of studio visits, right? Yeah, so that's been really fun, so it's great to be back. It's my first time here, and I'm really excited. I think when I walked in the other day, I was looking at all the buildings, and I said, where are we? Where am I? I don't know where I am. So let's get started, and I hear that the Peavy family is in the house.
A lot of Peavy family.
Hi.
We're a Peavy
I'm proud. Please correct me at any time. I'm used to that. Okay, so this is a creative response, and this is the exhibition Paulina Peavy, A Message to Paulina. And I am projecting a shadow. So let's try this.
You're okay.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I like that call and response. All right, so artists are inspired, influenced, and compelled to make things out of, from a need to say something. Things that cannot be said in a standard way of communicating. But what actually is a normal way of communicating that is so different from art making these days? Art uses signs, and sounds. And performances. This is lab bodies. And interactions and conversations. This is Works Progress out of Minneapolis. And what about channeling? This is Molly Bindell. And how do we even begin to talk about inspiration without relying on words like mystical or romantic, or even the overly academic or objective emotionless language that we tend to use in schools. Paulina Peavy, as you heard, was a well-educated and adventurous person. And on her undated resume, she said that she had been an architect, a former college teacher. She has a list of amazing job positions and accolades. Let me see if I can find my prompt here. Because I'm using a mixtape version of the talk.
I hear something.
You hear something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. There we go.
A lady who goes into a trance, and during the time that she's in the trance, she receives inspirations to paint. Now, I possibly have not phrased this right, but this is about all I know at the moment. I can say this to you, though. That Paulina Peavy is an artist, inventor, designer, sculptor, poet, writer, and lecturer. And she was born in Colorado City. She lived most of her adult life on the West Coast. And she has received degrees in art and education from leading colleges and schools, as well as honors and awards in art and architecture. Possibly some of you people have seen her work at these various art galleries.
So in 1934, she began attending seances at Ida Ewing's home in Long Beach, California, over a 10-year period. And it was in 1934 that she met Lacombe. The emphasis, to help you out, is on the first syllable. So if we could say this together, Lacombe. Thank you. Thanks, Sam. And at times, Peavy said that Lacombe appeared to her as a human, or as a blue or black panther. Not that Blue Panther or Black Panther. I mean these. And Lacombe appeared as a skeleton, as a spider spinning a web, and even as the Roman goddess Aurora. Peavy and Lacombe collaborated until her death in 1999. So let's see if we can get our audio to play.
I mentioned to our listeners that we possibly may have Paulina Peavy, a lady who goes into a trance. And during the time that she's in the trance, she receives inspirations to paint. Now, I possibly have not phrased this right, but this is about all I know at the moment. I can say this to you, though. That Paulina Peavy is an artist, inventor, designer, sculptor, poet, writer, and lecturer. And she was born in Colorado City. received degrees in art and education from leading colleges and schools, as well as honors and awards in art and art.
At least 25 years ago, I heard voices, very strange voices coming through me.
Coming through you.
Yes. Startled me a very great deal, although I had been investigating the mystery of my paintings, which started coming 25 years ago.
The spirit, the IFO, not UFO, the alien, inhabited Peavy's body. Lacuma shared space like a hybrid body in an Octavia Butler novel, and Peavy is the conduit. What I'd like to take from Paulina Peavy and Lacuma is what it means to be and become another person, the other or the alien. And it seems so appropriate to talk about this right now, in these days. Peavy and Lacuma made me think about how artists spend their time being and becoming. And whether you believe in possession or not, the one thing that is not questionable is Peavy's desire. She either chose herself to be a vessel or allowed herself to be one. Here are 4 artists that take this idea head on of becoming and being in real and imagined, playful or spiritual ways. So this is the work of Saya Woolfolk, and she's a New York-based artist who uses science fiction and fantasy to reimagine the world in multiple dimensions. And what she's done is created a place called the No Place. And it's the world of the empathetics. It's a fictional race of women who are able to alter their genetic makeup and fuse with plants. With each body of work, Woolfolk continues to build the narrative of these women's lives and questions the utopian possibilities of cultural hybridity. Symbiosis is about proximity, and it's about a mutually beneficial component. There's a mutually beneficial component to it. Hybridity is mixing different elements to become one. And we can even think about both of those ideas, those states of being with Peavy's work. This is Magdalena Campos Pons, and in this performance, she wore a monochromatic dress and covered her hair with cloth and covered her face with white paint. And you can see her right here. So it's not what, but whom has she become? What does her transformation mean? And how does she embody what is both in and outside of her? And this performance took place during the opening reception of the exhibition Alchemy of the Soul, a multi-layered collaboration between Magdalena Campos Pons and her husband, the composer and musician Neil Leonard, at the Peabody Essex Museum in Salem, Massachusetts. This is another artist. This is actually a collaborative team, Tim Dow, Rodney Poilar, and Amy Gatha. So questions of identity remain central to the stage still. Whenever one clothes a body and presents it, it comes out in public. Ideas of gender, race are still the most composite parts of social identities, and also the most frayed. And when is an identity a performance? When stilled, its social edges merge into visibility. This piece is called straight acting. And the tableau here, so there are 5 videos, and in each video, and I'm only showing you 3, in each video, Tim Dowd is posing as a character that he's seen online, on social media. And so in each 10-minute loop, it features a white male caught or revealed or trapped in subject positions that are both comic and politically intense, yet in all cases as male, clothed in a kind of social power. This is Danielle Abrams, and she's a performance artist based in Boston, Massachusetts. So in her performance and video installations, she portrays 4 characters in this piece called Quadroon that are all autobiographical. So I want to show you, sorry, you know, that's how everything is connected. Look how connected we are. But let me show you Quadroon. And let's switch over. We might not be able to get audio because I'm using 2 different ones, but we can try. But nonetheless, you'll be able to see the video. Oh.
See, things are real fast by y'all right now. Ain't got no
There's a
time
slight
to
delay.
tell a little tale, have a little party, or maybe even be sweet on each other a bit. When I left Ashland, I knew I was gonna buy me some sweets. And I found Richard Hershey. And he was sweet on me. Took me dancing into the Apollo. Oh, he turned me into a party girl in the big time city. I might have been doing things that they think a mama shouldn't be doing, but mama needs some loving too. Especially after looking my ex-self. My duty.
There's a little lag with the internet. But what she's doing is she's embodying different people
They're
in
like
her
four
family.
ex-girlfriends. Wait, I'll show you a picture. Take me later. Okay. Now this here is Daphne, and this is Maria, and this is Diamanda, and this is Stella. Let's see, who else is in here? Oh yeah, This is another girlfriend of mine from high school, and this is just my family. Anyway, they told me not to worry about it when I broke up with my ex-stellios back then because they'd find me a box. And I knew that they would because that goes out with the guy who drives around the car. And Maria goes out with the guy who drives the weird thing. And here's
So typically in Danielle's work, she takes on the persona of people that are around her. And this idea of becoming and being is so much a part of who she is and how she identifies out in the world. It makes a lot of sense that she's a performance artist making this kind of work.
So I knew that this was the point that I had to sit down and talk to someone. questions about whether I have any money. And of course I had none, so it was all going okay.
Okay, so we're gonna move ahead, since there's a little lag.
And then she asked me
Questions
a
that I wanted
question
to
which
pose
all
for you
stuck.
guys.
She asked me if I like to do my own cooking. And even though I hadn't in a while, I know that I could.
Okay, now, so the questions that I have are, what does Lacamo and Peavy offer us? Let's pull this back. What do they offer us? They offer us how to accept the limitations of one's body and accept the knowledge and help of another to be a better human. That it takes others, foreign bodies, and aliens in our lives to possibly be whole. That not only do we not know what's out there, but we don't fully understand what we're capable of in here. And we might all need a spirit ghost. So Lacamo, we need you. Thank you. Thank you so much for being patient with all of our technical difficulties. But the point that I want to just emphasize is that Peavy found a way to become a whole person through this experience with another, right? And I think that we can all find ways to do that, right? And so what she and Peavy offers us is an opportunity. And I hope that we can take that, and I can take that, through learning more about her and her life. Thank you. So, I would love to open this up for a conversation. I know it's a little bit late, but we have
That's
time.
an important part, please.
We have time. We have time, yes.
Have you ever tried to track in your own work when inspiration strikes you? Do you keep a log, or do you just let things lodge in your brain for a while? Or?
So I'm always thinking about my own work. Right now I'm thinking about how to solve a problem in my own studio. But I have a running journal. I have a journal of notes. I have a lot of images in my studio that are everywhere. If I see something, I pin it. I pin it up to my wall. I take a photo of it on my phone. I have notes everywhere. And I'm inspired by a lot of things. So many things that I read or something that someone says, I try to find a way to document it so that I can reflect on it later. Yeah. Are you an artist?
No. But I've always wondered about that with artistic people. So.
Yeah, yeah. Any artists in here? Yeah, what do y'all do? Yeah. Yes. So, do you keep a running log of your inspirations?
I paint completely intuitively.
You're intuitive?
I am. I just start painting. I don't have any idea where it's going to go or what's going to happen. It just happens. And there are times when, I lose myself in doing this so that my thinking mind is at rest. And there have been times when I've done this and I come back, a week later, and I thought, where did that come from? It just happens with me. And I don't keep notes. I know that I'm a very visual person, so I'll see images that have power in some way, and it probably gets filed, but not on purpose.
Yeah. I think we all have a different place where we source our ideas and our inspirations and how we categorize them and just how we sort of relay those experiences. Yeah, that's amazing.
Can I make a comment and bring
Yeah.
it back to your talk and to
Yeah.
Peavy and this idea of collaboration, or this idea of visionary? Are all artists visionary? You start painting, Joan, and say you lose track of what it is. You don't recognize what it was you painted last week when you come back and look at it. Are you collaborating with the Lockabo? Do you ever allow yourself to think, what is becoming an artist, a character? Where does inspiration come from? Is it inherent to being an artist? Is Paulina Peavy just like every other artist out there working and painting?
Well, I think we are having conversations with ourselves. If another part of ourselves could be a Lockabo, then that would definitely make a lot of sense in the context of Peavy's work. Yes.
So I'm fascinated by the fact that you had a lot of imagery that had people, very loud people talking who were very present. And I've never seen this artist's work before, but the first thing that struck me coming in here was how the space, the blackness, the emptiness of the space with both organic and geometric elements are personas without people. I wouldn't even have thought of people, which is why your presentation was really wonderful, because I don't really know anything about her, so I don't know, the whole background. But for me, the work, the space is what she's working with and against. And so I'm kind of interested in how that happened for her, because it's very mysterious to look at these and try to understand the space as a very compressed space somehow, the small pieces to the large pieces. And so I think it's really interesting that there's a persona figure that you're soliciting in some ways, maybe having to do with your work or whatever. But for me, there's an emptiness that's very evocative that I don't really understand at all. And that's, even seeing the picture in paper, that's the first thing that hit me was the negative space. So I'm just kind of blabbing that out there. But is that a figure? The space often for painters is a figure. It's just not a figure.
Oh, agreed. So I read these as very full pieces. The black space is actually very full. I don't read it as empty at all, because it is a body.
Oh.
And I think it's a body.
Vibe?
A body.
Body. Okay.
And so when there is a ground or a space that holds that much presence in a piece, it is actually it's a positive. And I find that really interesting too.
Okay. I know it may be the same thing to read it as a negative is also a body. That
A cavity.
a cavity.
A cavity.
Something where the pieces are lodged, but they're sort of frozen or contained. So I thank you. That's kind of I would not have thought of it that way.
I'm intrigued by the masks, and I love the way that they're what you're confronted with when you first come in, and then to learn that she put them on to paint. It's sort of like you need to put them on to come into this show. So that's a nice metaphor there. But the idea of actually, going through a ritual to become your artistic self, your many artistic selves, in order to get into that creative space, wherever it may be, is really,
It is.
I'd like to try it. It's really powerful.
Well, Peavy, I had a long talk with Lily about Peavy, and she sort of crept into my psyche because I see things and she's resonating that it wouldn't have resonated necessarily before. This is not terribly intellectual, but on Stephen Colbert last night, RuPaul was on, and he's chatting about his persona. And he believes that unless the only time we are our true selves is when we're naked. He said the minute you put on clothes, you are in drag. So all of us sitting here are, every time we go to our closet and choose how we're going to present ourselves to the world, it's sort of like her masks. You know, I've chosen red today, but what if I chose all black or whatever? My jewelry, anyone sitting here, you're all in drag with your So, yeah, which I found fascinating, and the minute he said that, my mind leapt, thanks to Lily and this exhibit, to Paulina Peavy. She's a woman who created maybe more elaborate personas than sitting here in black pants and a red t-shirt, but that's what she was doing. Every time she woke up in the morning and put on a mask or whatever, and we're doing the same thing when we make these choices.
Definitely.
So
We definitely are.
And then the other was, I just read the obituary for the sci-fi writer, Ursula Le Guin, who, and she created a planetary universe where people were not male or female. And of course, that was very much Peavy had our life evolved, or the world would evolve in seasons. You can correct me if I'm remembering it wrong. But that we would eventually evolve into one sex. And that is exactly the world that I wonder, now who knows, it sort of comes together. And here is a writer who's considered for a Nobel Prize, and yet people were thinking that Paulina Peavy was maybe out there. Well, here is someone who made a whole career of being out there and creating universes, but dealing with what's going on in everyday life, but seeing it through a different perspective.
Definitely, definitely.
So, Pauline is in there now.
Yeah, she is.
Zoe, I wonder on that same topic, in the extension of it, do you think that Paulina was being performative when she took on these personalities, or do you think it was really possessing her, if there's a difference? I'm thinking about that tape recording, which I hadn't heard. I know it's the loop on the TV. I hadn't heard that before. And it struck me, if I can say this without being pejorative, as her being performative. It seemed very affected to me as she acted out with the radio interviewer there. And I wonder if you have a thought on that.
So, I listened to the interview multiple times, and I listened to